Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome.
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
Doing great. To all our audience members out there, appreciate you joining our 28th installment of the Housing for All webinar series brought to you by the Dallas Housing Coalition. My name is Brian Toney, and I am once again substituting for our host today, Andy Gillespie of Charles Schwab. Cannot be here, but she'll be back again next week. I also serve as the Housing Coalition's organizer, where I have the privilege to work with so many great members, including Elizabeth and Forest Forward. And on these webinars, we talk about whether Dallas is big and whether or not it's big enough for everyone. We hope that you all have been enjoying this webinar series and meeting our members, of course, who are strongest advocates for keeping Dallas affordable. Joining us today is Elizabeth Wattley, Chief Executive Officer of Forest Forward. With over 15 years of experience, Elizabeth is dedicated to fostering economic development in South Dallas Fair Park while preserving its rich history and culture. She has led transformative initiatives at City Square and Paul Quinn previously, including turning an unused football field into a nationally recognized organic farm. Elizabeth has been honored as one of Dallas Business Journal's 40 under 40 and recognized by D Magazine for her impact. She has an economics degree from Spelman College, HBCU, and an MBA from SMU Clark School of Business. Thanks for being here, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Brian.
Appreciate it. All right, we're going to start off with letting you share a little bit more about Forest Forward, your mission, and how it aligns with the broader goal of revitalization in South Dallas Fair Park. Anything you can touch on about housing and community development would be awesome.
Great. So Forest for It is a nonprofit organization. We are relatively new. We got our 501(c)(3) in 2020, and we focus on holistic and inclusive neighborhood revitalization. And we do that through using a proven national model called Purpose-Built Communities that has three clear pathways that bring revitalization together while preserving the character and history of the neighborhood with minimal displacement. And that's the important part. We want people that live in the community to be able to stay in the community and reap the benefits and the rewards of the assets and the new developments that are coming to the neighborhood. And so when we do this work for us, we certainly want to have an economic engine and bring some economic vitality to the neighborhood. So that will be through the restoration and expansion of the historic Forest Theater. You'll see that here.
Great.
And then we are also working on bringing a cradle to career education pathway that is anchored through the formation of the MLK Arts Academy. And then, of course, as we're talking about today, we want to be able to bring mixed income housing to the neighborhood. We want to be able to deconcentrate poverty and diversify the socioeconomics and provide adequate, affordable, multi-generational housing for the neighborhood. So that's what we do in a nutshell.
Awesome. Great overview. How long have you been at Forest Forward now and working on this project?
So I am the founder of Forest Forward. So we started this before having our 501(c)(3). So I've been at it since 2017. Forest Forward has existed since 2020. And it
Awesome.
feels long, but then not that long at all, considering
Yeah.
what's been accomplished.
And the theater itself dates back even farther, right?
The theater was built in 1949 and has not been opened since 2009. So yes, it's a historic space.
That's great. Can't wait. And I look forward to diving in more about it. Part of that process, of course, is fundraising. So you're trying to reach a goal of $80 million through a combination of public and private funding for the renovation of the theater, the land acquisition, and supporting that educational programming you mentioned with Dallas ISD. How do you partner with other organizations, and what led you to joining the Dallas Housing Coalition?
So we have quite a few partnerships. In addition to raising $80 million for the Forest Theater, we're also working to bring other dollars into the surrounding neighborhood and community, whether it be in the school, whether it be in infrastructure improvements, anything that we can do to support in bringing healthy neighborhood revitalization through fundraising. That's one way in which we do that. And so we do bring public, private, and philanthropic contributions to this work. And so we partner with other nonprofit organizations and then with other public entities as well. So pretty much all hands on deck. And it's been pretty fun.
Any like learnings or takeaways when it comes to all these moving pieces and keeping
Ooh,
everybody up to date?
so many. I would say certainly my learning lessons have been in working with the public entities, elected officials, and figuring out how to navigate those different spaces to be able to get public funding to support the work. Because everything you hear about public grants is true. You do lose your hair. It's part of it. I see you've done a lot of public grants apparently.
Yeah,
Um,
one
but
there.
it's it's a real thing. And so it's been a learning lesson, but the best thing about the work is everyone wants to see it happen. Everyone wants to see something better for the city of Dallas. Everyone wants to see something better for the South Dallas community. And it's that uniformed mission alignment that's getting it done.
Absolutely. It's super exciting to see all that's going on in South Dallas. I saw there was a rec center ribbon cutting a check presentation from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett this week, the momentum you've built. Are there any other, successes that you'd like to point out in the last, 2 years maybe of
Sure.
example?
Yeah, there's a few. So, mentioned Congresswoman Crockett, $22 million has been routed to improve the MLK Boulevard east to
Mhm.
west, which is a really big deal. We're going to have bike lanes. They're going to put in some infrastructure improvements. So that's really going to help with traversing back and forth on the boulevard. Another cool thing that has helped happened, Forest Forward has partnered with North Texas Council of Governments, COG, and
Yeah,
we're getting parking under our highway. So under I-45, a place that has been a space of blight. We are going to be able to use that as an asset now and have parking to serve the community in the under the highway of I-45. So that's also been a big development.
that's walking distance to the theater, I
That
assume.
is walking distance
Yeah,
to the theater and St. Philip's and Cornerstone Baptist Church. So it'll serve a number of entities up and down the boulevard.
very nice. Cool. In your view, then, how does your work contribute to that broader progress of affordable housing? How many units are you looking to create, and what have been the challenges just on the housing development itself that you're
Yeah.
doing?
So Forest Forward would like to bring a minimum of 150 units of affordable housing to the neighborhood. Certainly, we hope to do more than that, but that is kind of our baseline. And the toughest part of it to date has been land acquisition.
Mm,
So South Dallas is certainly in a space of transition, and it is currently like Game of Thrones trying to acquire land in South Dallas. And it's tough to get contiguous land to be able to build multifamily and assemble contiguous lots. So that's the challenge.
yeah.
But I think it's possible.
Well, a lot of negotiations with a lot of different property owners and
Lots of
coming together.
negotiations and people recognize the transition, people recognize the theater happening. So is it Fat Joe's quote that today's price is not tomorrow's price? Is it's
Um,
not or today's price is not yesterday's price. That's it.
yeah, and land values have gone up exponentially across the city, so I'm sure
Yeah.
something yet in the last 8 years, 7 years that you've been noticing, and yeah, can make it more difficult, but hopefully that continues to go well and you've got some good development partners waiting, ready to build on the other side of that.
Yeah, I think so. We've got some really good partners that we work with, and we're still in the early stages. Certainly right now the priorities get the theater up and running, which we're on track to do, so that's exciting. And then we'll deep dive into housing construction.
Very cool. So when thinking about the future of the theater, you've of course engaged in a lot of the community members and residents, businesses around the theater. How are you trying to balance making sure that they benefit at the same time they're not being displaced and it's leading to long-term stability in South Dallas?
Yeah. Well, that's a tough question. There's a lot of things that Force Fort does to um one, include residents and neighbors in the community into our planning and our efforts. They are side by side with us in everything.
Mhm.
When I think about the community in a larger capacity of things that Forest Ford does not control, right? Things that we do not own and have land ownership, there's a lot of conversations that we're having around policy overlays. How can we keep our residents here, those that are renters, those versus homeowners? So there's a lot of larger work that's happening in 752 215 beyond just the things that we can directly control. And so
Mm.
things like the Housing Coalition, participating in different conversations of really putting together a master plan, if you will, of how to keep our residents here.
Yeah. Builders of Hope is coming out with the anti-displacement toolkit soon, so those will be some recommendations.
Yeah, they have actually attended one of their sessions. It had some great recommendations in it. And so some of those
Mhm.
things we'll look into seeing if that can help preserve some of the residents here in the neighborhood as well.
Absolutely. Because the theater itself is, a cultural institution, right? You've had
Mhm.
various, performing artists over the decades, and it's very meaningful. We don't want to lose any of that culture or identity of our residents and what's been built in Dallas. So there are still new people, coming in to the area. And I think you want the theater to be an amenity to both existing and new residents. Can you talk a little bit like what you imagine happening in the theater itself once it's reopened?
Sure. So I think cultural relevance and anchoring it in cultural preservation is really important, not just to the theater, but to the neighborhood overall. There's so much development that's happening in South Dallas right now that I feel like if everyone recognizes the culture and the history and how important that is to the neighborhood and develops within that same light, then we can all move in the same direction in that space. And so as far as the theater of having different performances, certainly there will be concerts, theaters there. There will also be skill sets development through the arts. So we recognize how much Dallas is growing. So workforce and skills development for our residents as well as our students is important. So that will be happening. But after that, it'll be a pretty cool space to have entertainment. We'll have a rooftop. So
Mhm.
entertainment, education, will be at the core of all of those things, and
Yeah,
economic development.
right. And you have a ton of square footage, right, for all these activities to take place.
We
Or
do have a lot, so we're expanding from 33,000 square feet to 60,000 square feet, so we're doubling in size. But you wouldn't believe how sometimes it still doesn't feel like enough
sure,
because there's just so much to be done, but the footprint of the theater is gonna double. And it's gonna be a pretty special place to serve the city.
that's great. Anything else upcoming in the next year or two that we should be looking out for, or
Yeah,
project?
certainly Force Forward wants to contribute to, I won't use the word solving, but supporting and helping the housing crisis that we're up against in Dallas.
Yeah,
So we will start moving towards seeing what we can do to bring housing opportunities to the neighborhood.
awesome. I think
Mhm.
those were the main questions that I actually have. We went through these bullets pretty quickly. So, is there
Wonderful.
anything I didn't ask that you wish we had or would like to discuss?
Um, No, other than that, I think it's great that the housing conversation is in the forefront of the city of Dallas as a whole. It's not just one entity or one government agency. And I do enjoy seeing everyone come together and recognize what's ahead of us, and seeing all the partners come together. So
Thank you. It means a
that's it.
lot
It's
to have
exciting
your
to see.
support. Is
Yeah.
if there anything that our audience can do or call to action to support you and your work?
Yes, you can do two things. One, you can follow us on Instagram at Forest Forward. I always say this that we are Instagram famous because we have almost 10,000 followers. Whoop whoop. And then certainly you can visit us on our website at www.forestforward.org. Feel free to make a contribution or sign up for a tour and come visit us.
Awesome. It's a great space. I've not been, so I need to go see it again since y'all had,
Yes,
people.
come see it again. We do not have a roof and we only have three walls. We've completed our
Oh,
asbestos abatement and demo, and we're working on some structural work. So now we got to put it all back together. This is all part of the plan, but when I see it with no wall, my heart flutters every time.
yeah,
But
you're like worried, like, oh, there's supposed to be a wall there.
yeah, yeah. But that I keep telling myself that's part of the plan to see all the demolition, but it's coming together.
That's amazing. Well, thank you again for coming on the webinar this morning and sharing your unique perspective, all the ongoing work in Forest Theater in South Dallas. I'm glad you're a part of many conversations and I know that's going to continue to help propel the area and, like you said, keep everybody involved. And being a member of the coalition, you know, we want to continue to support you and your housing work. So don't hesitate to reach out. For all of our audience members today, you can find this podcast on our social media channels, and also other updates on how to get involved with the Dallas Housing Coalition. You can go to DallasHousingCoalition.com to learn more about our member organizations like Force Forward and join the coalition. And tickets are now on sale. We just posted a flyer today for our inaugural housing summit coming up November 21st. So we'd love to have you come out to that, Elizabeth. Have a booth so you can get to know our hopefully 150, 200 members that will be attending that summit on Thursday, November 21st, the week before Thanksgiving. So that's it for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. And remember, Dallas is big and big enough for everyone. Have a great weekend.